They didn't hear me step in, too distracted murmuring about him. Not simply compliments, fascination. My husband reflected through their perspective. That's when the thought formed. A night that none of us would forget. Before anything began, you already know the kinds of nights I mean. The ones etched deep, like this one. Hit like and subscribe so you don't miss what unfolds next. Her laughter was the first sound I caught. Crisp, breathless, the sort you can't hold back when you're trying not to reveal too much. I lingered outside the break room, fingers gripping the doorway edge, a breath from entering. I hadn't meant to overhear, but then my name surfaced. "She's fortunate," the second voice murmured. "Like very fortunate. I've seen her husband," recalling the sharp look he had in that white shirt at the holiday gathering. Silence stretched. Then the other one whispered, "Honestly, I'd give anything just to share moments with a man like that." I stayed still, no breath, no motion, only listening as they carried on, layering words over him, building him into something larger, stronger, more vivid with each sentence. The way he grinned, the way he stood, how they imagined his tone, the ease of his presence, like every detail, mattered more than it should. I should have been enraged, but I wasn't. It awakened something else, sharp, insistent, impossible to set aside. When I finally entered, both startled. I smiled, calm, unhurried. "Hey, sorry, didn't mean to sneak up." They scrambled for reasons, giggled nervously, juggled their cups, dropped their gazes like kids caught trespassing. I said nothing more, just walked past at a pace that let them glance and left silence lingering. That evening, I couldn't let it go. Their words, their reddened cheeks, their eyes when they knew I'd heard. I sat next to my husband on the couch, my arm brushing his. He was reading, legs stretched out, unaware. "They mentioned you today," I whispered. He looked up. "Who?" "Two co-workers." I let it sink in slowly. "They find you attractive. Let's just say their imagination ran wild." He blinked, surprised. "Wait, what?" I turned toward him and smiled. Not coy, not playful, only reflective. I said they should stop over sometime. His lips parted faintly. No answer came. So, I chose Friday and kissed his cheek like it was simple. By Friday night, the air had already shifted. They appeared together, arms brushing, cheeks warmed by the cold. Leia wore a black dress with sleeves clinging like ink. Tessa had her hair pinned back, neckline low and sure. I noticed their gazes the moment they entered. First at me, then at him. He leaned in the kitchen doorway, glass in hand, barefoot, composed, slightly hesitant but receptive. His shirt only half fastened, collar loose. I hadn't told him the details of what I imagined. I only wanted to see how they'd react. "Wine?" I asked. Already pouring. They both nodded, coats still on. As I poured, I felt their attention on him, watching how he stood, how he tilted his head, torn between looking at them or at me. So I answered for him. I crossed the room, set a glass in his hand, let my fingers stay an instant at his wrist. A look, a pause, a silent signal. Let them notice. We drifted into the living room. The four of us settled carefully, like a frame taking shape. Everyone deliberate, no sudden moves. I sat close to him. Leia tucked herself in the corner. Tessa knelt near the cushions, legs folded under, glass balanced light in her fingers. Talk flowed easy. Small at first work, music, travels, but under each word lived something else, a hum of awareness. I watched Leia as she laughed at something he said, her head tilted, neck exposed. When her knee brushed his, she didn't pull back. Tessa leaned nearer, her voice softer. "You two seem good together." I smiled. "We are." But then I clasped his hand, laced our fingers, and stared straight at her as I said, "He's the kind of man who surprises you." The words stayed there, intentional, unmistakable. Silence held. Leia shifted. Tessa blinked, eyes darting from me to him, then returning. He exhaled slow, steady. So I rose and offered my hand. "Come with me," I whispered. Not to anyone in particular, but to the room itself. And I waited to see who would follow. I didn't glance back walking down the hallway. I didn't need to. I could sense them trailing. The hush of steps, the muted breaths, the faint clink of a glass being left behind before he came to. The bedroom door stood open already. I entered, letting the others drift in after me one by one. Silence held. Thicker now, not hesitant, but charged. Each of us felt the shift. He came in last. His gaze swept the room before resting on mine. I gave only the slightest nod. It was enough. Leia moved first, slow, deliberate. A few steps toward him, then a glance my way. A flicker of a question, quiet and restrained. I stepped behind her, setting my palm lightly at her back. She inhaled soft and careful. I guided her forward just a little more, until the closeness hummed in the air. His hands stayed lowered. I could read the tension in his stance, the steady hold of his frame. So I leaned close, whispered, "It's fine." Then I reached for his collar. Button by button, I eased his shirt open. Not rushed, not showy, only sure motions. Leia observed quietly, her hands twitching once before stilling. When the shirt fell loose, I slipped it off his shoulders and stepped back. Tessa was behind me now. Her hand brushed mine, feather light. I turned to her, tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. Her eyes locked on mine. No words between us. "You don't need to wait," I murmured. I didn't. That was what I gave them. The energy shifted, not abruptly, but gradually. The room breathed. People moved. Leia picked up her glass. Tessa drifted toward the other side of the bed. My husband stood steady, watching each of us, trying to read the next shape of things. It wasn't disorder. It wasn't confusion. It was alignment. A moment stretched, enough for us all to recognize and decide what to do with it. I sat at the bed's edge, calm, legs crossed, back straight. No commands, no demand. Just there, waiting. One by one, they adjusted to me. His hands hovered near my waist. As I leaned back, not gripping, only present, anchoring. Another hand slid slightly. Another brushed upward at my side. The motion deliberate, a question without voice. My breath caught, unspoken. Behind me, I felt Tessa's presence, then her hand, fingertips grazing just above my neck, not quite touching, only enough to lift the hairs on my skin. Across the room, Leia climbed onto the bed, knees folded neat beneath her. Her eyes stayed on him alone. He bent toward me, his breath grazing my collar, then lower. He didn't speak. He didn't need to. I lifted a hand into his hair, held him there a moment, not pushing, not pulling, only pausing. Behind me, Tessa pressed her palm between my shoulders, a grounding weight. I stayed still, whispered, "Stay." Leia shifted first. She drew her dress upward at her hips, then let it rest as she Saturday arms relaxed at her knees. Her eyes returned to mine, wide but unwavering. She didn't move further. She didn't need to. Tessa lingered near, unmoving, then eased off her earrings, one, then the other. I heard the tiny clink as they fell. Her necklace followed. Her breaths came louder now, uneven, yet her body remained steady. She leaned closer, her voice brushing my ear. I've never stood in a room like this. I touched her arm. "You don't need to explain." Behind me, my husband shifted position. A quiet step aside. No speech, just the scrape of heel on floor. His hand found my side again, higher now. Not rushed, not claiming, only aware. I turned toward him, brushed my fingers through his belt loop. A silent reassurance. Nothing else. We moved toward the bed together, not in perfect rhythm, but close. The room didn't whirl. It bent inward slow, like a curtain descending. He sat first, cross-legged, steady. Leia settled beside me, posture open, breath shallow but measured. Tessa approached behind, each step careful. He knelt at the mattress edge, palms resting on his thighs, watching. I reached toward him, open. He mirrored it, our fingers linking lightly. Tessa lowered beside me, her shoulder grazing mine. Leia set her hand near my knee, light as paper. Her other hand found Tessa's wrist. No one spoke. Only our breathing filled the space. Too deep to be calm, too soft to be fear. I leaned into the silence. Let it rise. Let it occupy the space between us. He leaned forward, and for the first time, I felt the press of his weight through the mattress. He didn't reach for me, not straight away, but his gaze caught mine long enough for the rest of the world to blur. I didn't smile. I didn't look away. His hand hovered near my cheek, pausing long enough for me to lean into it. I did, light enough to catch the warmth of his palm. Tessa's arm slipped behind my back, not gripping, only present. I closed my eyes for a breath and let them all exist with me. Not pressing, only being. I drew in air, held it, and released. Leia's hand skimmed my elbow, a quiet signal. My husband met my eyes again, searching. I nodded once enough. He leaned closer. Leia followed. Tessa rested her head on my shoulder. My breath caught, not from weight, but from the stillness, the intensity, the sense of being seen in full. No one demanded more. No one asked. Yet everything continued to gather. The minutes melted, not in chaos, but in steady layers, the warmth of closeness, the nearly silent flick of glances. The bed shifted gently beneath us, as someone adjusted, slow, patient. A hand linked with mine. Another drew along my forearm. Someone behind me straightened the blanket. That was all. But it surged through me. I didn't know whose hand was whose. It didn't matter. My husband leaned near, his forehead brushing my shoulder. I touched his wrist, not to hold, just to show he was there, steady, watching. Tessa's fingers curled under mine, threading soft. Her breath skimmed my neck. Leia stayed near, palm pressed to the sheet, her eyes fixed on me. I let myself sink, not forward or back, but into them all, into the presence they shaped, into the trust wrapping around us like another skin. The air pulsed, not with sound, but with focus. A shared hum, no peak, no end, just one long inhale none of us wanted to release. We shifted again. I didn't know who moved first. Maybe all at once, maybe no one. But when I opened my eyes, I lay on my side, my head pillowed in someone's lap. A hand moved through my hair. Another cupped my ankle. I wasn't sure where I ended or began. My husband's breath was near, behind, or beside me. Leia whispered something too soft to catch. Tessa's hand slid into mine again, squeezing gently. I didn't guide, didn't direct. I only let it unfold, breath by breath, until the silence swelled enough to hold us all. He once thought I'd be jealous, but I was never afraid to share. Not when, in the end, it's still mine. Tell me truly, do you wish you'd been there too? If you were, what would you have done? Leave it in the comments I'll be reading. And if this story carried you, tap like, hit subscribe, and turn on the bell so you don't miss what comes next. Your support is everything.